Boy, a great win for our guys, our coaches, our players, and Sooner Nation. Man, they were awesome. They really showed up tonight and affected the game. That was a lot of fun to be a part of. The passion, the energy in the stadium, in our locker room. Hard-fought victory. Didn't play our best game and still won by a couple scores. So we'll take that.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to the Sooner Recap. Hall of Fame College Football, Sooners 360, and in a couple of minutes, our boy from Horns Down Podcast, Kchris Griffin. Big win last night for the Oklahoma Sooners, 24-13. In the game, as you heard there from Brent Venables, wasn't perfect, but it was pretty dominant if you think about the way things went down there, Mr. Mason.
Yeah, I mean, there's more meat on the bone. There's a ceiling for this team, and but if you can give us what we, if they can give us what we got Saturday night, I think for most games on the schedule, that'll put us in striking distance of winning fourth quarter games. If you can. If you can amp up the defense and amp up the offense a little bit, which I think there's room for those things to occur, then I'm not sure there's anybody on the schedule. And obviously, it's only 2 weeks in, but we won the big game, we won the premier game in the week, so we get to crow a little bit, we get to puff up a little bit. I think that's fair to say. I don't think there's anybody on our schedule that I don't think OU can get into a fourth quarter game with and be competitive and win some of those fourth quarter games. And that's peaked in fact that we have, six more ranked teams. I bet Auburn's probably ranked after this weekend. So we've got six more ranked teams on our schedule. But I think, OU can play with every one of them.
Yeah, I think that they could win. They could beat any team on the schedule. You know what I mean? Now, not to say that they will beat every team on the schedule, but they can beat any team on the schedule. Um,
An
as I said,
efficient, yeah. I mean, a game break, an elite defense and an efficient offense. It'll keep OU in games. It'll travel on the road and it'll keep OU in games.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. I think and that's the whole thing is that as we talked about last night, this is a game that didn't see them playing their best overall, and that's what you just heard from Coach Venables as well. That they made some mistakes. You had two turnovers. Michigan didn't even turn the ball over. You had almost another turnover down there by the goal line, and a couple of you know, running into the kicker, block or roughing the kicker, whatever that kept the drive going as well. I mean, these are things that could have really turned into or would have turned into bad things for Oklahoma in the past. And so to me, I've always been saying, and I was saying the other day, this is the kind of game that it's not just going out there and proving it to Sooner Nation. It's going out there and proving it to themselves that they can win these tight nail biter games. Even when they don't have their best stuff. You kind of think of it like one of those old pitchers that he doesn't have his best stuff going, but he's going to throw strikes and get ground balls or whatever, and just make sure that he can let his
You
defense kind of work for him because the defense was working for Oklahoma. Very very significant. I, one of the stats that I wanted to bring up, first and foremost, was this is pretty impressive to me. If I can find the dang thing. Okay, yeah, holding the. Oh well, I'll get back into that. I'll go ahead and let Coach Venables tell you about that one real quick.
really felt like there's a lot of the game we played really, really well, and at times had an opportunity to really pull away. We had some self-inflicted issues that kept things a little closer, but like a championship style program that Michigan represents, man, they kept throwing haymakers as well. But we're super proud of our players and coaches.
Yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Jim Nagy just posted something to Twitter thanking the crowd for their performance at the game last night. And, Nagy gets it. Nagy, the thing I've been like most about Nagy is he seems to, he's an NFL guy, but he gets it in terms of communicating with the fan base.
Yeah, you're all right there. You're all right there.
Sorry, I got all choked up by Brent being all dominant there. Yeah, but he just gets it. I mean, the fan, everybody's talking about the fans. All the recruits are talking about the atmosphere being electric. You know, you wanted a big night, you wanted a big stage, and you got it, pulled it off, and did they put up an A+ performance? No, but when you have, it's like you talk about like a pitcher doesn't have his best stuff. So we gave up a solo home run, right? That defense made sure that it weren't like the bases weren't loaded. To use a baseball analogy, right? We gave up a solo home run to Justice Haynes. Our offense put up enough runs that that our pitching took care of the rest of it. So to continue your baseball analogy, but as just a couple of comments from Brent that I think that highlight. I'm the recruiting guy, so I thought he had this fantastic recruiting comment. He said, with the recruits, I think there's validation. They're looking for certain things, whether it's a quarterback that's looking for a place to call home with a certain style of offense. So Brent basically calling out Peyton Houston as much as he could without saying Peyton Houston, which he's not allowed to do. But yeah. Brent taking time in his presser to talk about recruiting and get that plug in for Peyton Houston, I thought was interesting. And then this is something that we've talked about on our leading up to this season. We had a lot of discussion, all the way from spring to August camp. And I thought Brent's comment, he said, we made a decision to not go into the portal and stick with our young guys. And he's talking about the cornerback spot. They put in a lot of work. They're fearless. Man, they're a bunch of dogs. And Cortland Guillory was targeted 8 times last night and allowed just 1 catch for 6 yards. So, did we need because we were talking a lot about a portal cornerback, right? We need a veteran. We need a portal cornerback. And I think the decision by both Brent and Nagy, I think Nagy was partly telling Brent, there's no one in the portal who's worth what they're asking for. Can you, I think, and if you remember Nagy preseason, when he went to a couple of the events, there was that big donor event in Dallas. We had to pay a certain amount of cash to get in. And one of the notes we got out of that was that Nagy said he thought the secondary was the best group on campus. And we were all like, well, it's got to be a D tackle, right? It's got to be D end or set, So for him to say that, I think, we're starting to see some validation of that. I know Brent talked about the Haynes play being a bad fit. He made a bad call. He had us in a bad look. But overall, I think the secondary, it played great. I right now, Guillory and Gentry apparently got banged up. It's not his shoulder. I think he hurt I think he may have hurt his hamstring, but he was working on it. So they put Devon Jordan, Tulsa Union cornerbacks, just play for OU. Just going to get my plug in for that comment I made preseason, and he came in and he played well. So I think Peyton Bowen played well. Robert Spears Jennings. Again, our safeties, you're not just talking about them busting plays or not, but you're not talking about your safeties in terms of coverage busts. That's always a good sign. The one big play was just the Michigan guy making a stupid catch, and that happens, guys. Sometimes the opposition makes plays. But I thought that was fascinating. And then last night we were talking about the big drive, and just a little more context on that. The 16-play game-clinching drive versus Michigan is tied for the seventh longest drive, scoring drive since 2008. The drive took 8 minutes and 27 seconds, which is second only to a drive against Baylor in 2016. So we haven't done that in forever, and it's basically since 2016. So that's nearly 9 years at this point.
Right, and that comes on the heels. That comes on the heels of a week when you didn't feel like the offensive line, or at least most people didn't feel like the offensive line had done its job. That wasn't getting any push. You really hadn't run the ball great, aside from Mateer
Yeah.
in the game. And you're not. Most people aren't going to run the ball straight up against this Michigan defense that we talked about. Especially into the teeth of it. But you had some. I think a lot of people owe Devontae Barnes some grace and maybe an apology for some of the stuff. Hey, and me too. I'm one of them. I'm not saying I'm not. But
Well,
go
Styles.
down there and put together a drive like that. As I said, I was talking to uh, a fan there, and we were right around that 10-minute mark, and he was saying, "We got to get some time off this clock right now. Got to get some time off this clock." And I was like, "Man, you're right." Next thing you know, there's under 3 minutes left as they're kicking it through.
Styles make fights, and maybe Michigan's physicality and just that sort of Big Ten sort of physical nature to it suits Barnes maybe a little better than some of the wide open stuff, right? That it's sort of it's a mauling fight in a phone booth, and you can say lots of things about Javonte Barnes, but you cannot say that he's not his toughness, right? You can't say that he doesn't run behind his pads with some authority, and that he's not a tough guy, that he's not throwing himself at bodies to keep Mateer upright. I mean, like I said, other games I think maybe Barnes isn't the answer, but for tonight to match what Michigan was doing,
Yeah.
Javonte as a senior, doing everything to keep his boy Mateer upright,
The
that was big.
I'll just jump in here. Hello, everybody.
What's up there,
Hey,
Kchris?
Chris?
Hey, so I'll say this right here. Right now, I'm fine with the running back by committee. Again, I didn't think the running backs did anything bad or whatnot, and I still look for Odd. I still think Odd. We still have yet to see the best version of Odd, but at the same time, right now, just kind of by committee, I'm perfectly fine with it because every running back serves a purpose. The biggest thing with Javonte is if he can continue to make timely plays and make tough runs like he did last night. He got
Consistency,
popped.
right?
He kept going. He kept going and getting those 4 to 6 yard gains, like we talked about earlier last week, Chris Mason. We on our recruiting pods, which we'll have tomorrow on Monday, guys. But look, the thing is that 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's all we were asking for. Keep us out of 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12s. No penalties, no offensive line woes, but also being able to run the ball. And so we were able to use that. Yes, we use Mateer's legs a lot, but we were also able to use those quick hitch routes, quick curls, different things like that to get those necessary yards to keep ourselves in short yardage situations. But right now, what I really like about the running backs is that this is different than when we had Kennedy Brooks back that year with Eric Gray, to where when Eric Gray came in the game, it was obvious it was a passing play, and it was obvious that Kennedy Brooks was just going to run the ball, right? So it's a thing that, hats off to Arbuckle for at least keeping Michigan guessing, right? And again, we talked about it last night on our instant reaction pod. They spread Michigan out. Michigan's defense, they wanted to play closer to the ball. They wanted to play tighter to the ball. I think they probably expected tighter formations, some tight formations from OU. That wasn't the case. They spread them out, and they looked good doing it. I mean, it was just one of those things where definitely got to chime in on that. I think the running back by committee right now, and the fact that we have Tatum back, I think X Rob is going to be good. So the thing that is great about that running back room right now, there's healthy competition and somebody's going to pop. I just have a feeling. I think that Arbuckle's going to figure it out. And if I may just kind of segue into that before we move on to anything else, hey man, gotta give Arbuckle. He deserves a game ball as well. He called a hell of a game last night. He called a
He
hell
did.
of a game last night. And the thing is, I hopefully Sooner fans are seeing that for every opponent, we're building a different game plan, a serious game planning. That's why it's so reminiscent of like a young Lincoln Riley because he's building the game plan for each game, and we haven't necessarily had that the last couple of seasons. Love Levy, shout out to Levy, getting that win over Arizona State, but at times that offense can be a little bit predictable, right? The tendencies, the stubbornness to run the same play 3 or 4 times just because you feel like you got the matchups, you don't want them to sub. But at the same time, it felt like there was a real game plan out there last night. It was different. It was way different. Obviously, we know that it was vanilla against Illinois State, but at the same time, they still ran what they wanted to run. They still were able to work on things, but I think that helped set us up for this Michigan. And again, I go back to that and I say Illinois State was a great preparation tool for Michigan because they present things that Michigan wants to do with some of their looks. Outside of the cover zero looks, they want to be physical and all the rest of that. And I think somebody dropped in the chat last night. They dropped 44 points last night on somebody. So in the world of college football today, you can't take any win for granted, especially after seeing what happened yesterday.
And Byron Smith, you said please don't do that. He didn't do anything. Yes, he did. He had three big runs and a 16-yard reception on the most important drive of the game for Oklahoma. So you can sit there and hate on him if you want to, but you need to give him credit too when he does well, because he did well. He blocked well. He ran well. He averaged 4 yards a carry, and it was important that he got those yards when he did. So there's no reason to sit here and trash on him today. If he didn't play well, then you can say whatever you want, but you can't be sitting in here saying stuff about him right now because he was important to what happened last night. One more of these that I wanted to throw up there on BV.
But held them to 38% conversion or completion percentage. It's hard to do, in this day and age. And again, third down, I think they were third and fourth down 3 out of 15. We were over 50%. That's a winning formula. Grayson Miller, how about Grayson Miller from UCO? I know nobody can play from UCO, and nobody can play from Purdue, and we can go down that list. But these guys figured out. Owen Heineke led the team in tackles, walk on, a bunch of misfits, but the O-line was really good. Started off giving a game ball to Bill Beadenbow and the offensive line group. Really proud of those guys, everything that they've battled through, and the pain, as I told the team, is one of the world's greatest adhesives, and what you go through.
Yeah, as you said, a lot of misfits on this team that it put it all together though, and it kind of it's a pretty sweet little deal and a nice combination. And I think defensively speaking, I don't think that there's any doubt this is an elite defense with in every sense of the word, an elite defense. You go out there and you hold them to 38% conversions, on third down. That's huge. Stopped even after you had some mishaps. Um, you didn't allow them to kind of get going as well. But
We
for them to
didn't
not
let
turn
them.
the ball over and you still are able to hold them as few yards as you did and points. I mean, as you said last night, 13 points, man, 13 points. And you gave them opportunities to get a lot more, and they didn't do it. So elite defense, man.
Mhm. Not defensively again. Like we said last night, David Stone popped, man. He flashed last night on a bunch of plays. I thought that for the most part, I love the pairing of Dominique Williams and Jaden Jackson. I think they do complement each other, and I think that Jaden Jackson is a more agile version of kind of what Terry was for us last year. And the thing is, I think he's a leader there. I think that I wasn't so sure that G Baby was 100% to start the season, but I think he's getting there. And I think that that rotation with G Baby, Stoney, Jackson, Williams, and then you can put in a Strong or a Wilson or somebody there. That's going to be hell for people. And the thing is that it's going unnoticed, but they are very disruptive. People are trying to run at People are trying to run behind their tackles instead of their guards against us. And so on that bust, again, that was just a misalignment. We didn't shift. That wasn't necessarily, to me, that wasn't totally on the D line. Because when they were trying to run straight forward, it was not happening. I thought tackling was really good. Everything was really good. And shout out to Guillory, man. There were times where Guillory was on the islands by himself, and obviously you guys saw that they were trying to get the ball, trying to pick on him a little bit, but he played aggressive and he was there. And there was a couple of times where I thought Gentry was going to get that one interception. There was a time where I thought when Bryce threw that one ball in the end zone, I thought that Guillory was going to get off that guy and get it, but Guillory was aggressive all last night. He was attacking, and I mean the thing is that these are great reps. And then last night with Day Jordan out there as well, great reps for him too. Just getting guys ready and prepared for when we are all at full strength. That's what I cannot wait for, is when we're on full strength on both sides of the ball. We get Eli Bowen back. We get Kendall Dobie back. We get Giovanni Gibson back. I mean, I think there's a chance, guys, that, again, like I said last night, this defense can go from elite to special overnight. Like once we're at full strength, it's going to be crazy because the matchups, and
There's another level, right? There's another level to what they can do.
it's chess moves, man. It's chess moves, because when you're out there, you can go with a Kendall Daniels, who, again, I was like, okay, we get to see if he can actually be good in coverage, be good in this. That guy's a freaking athlete. He's a dude. So he can. I mean, he's the prototype for what that cheetah position is supposed to be. Um, and the fact that you can throw Dobie in there too is just going to add to that.
Yeah, I thought the two transfer additions were huge last night. Marvin Jones Jr. played a very good game at defensive end. He seems to be getting that motor going. He seems to be getting into what Chavis is doing. And Kendall Daniels, I mean, it was I'm going to going in the Wayback Machine here. That hit on Justice Haynes was like a Roy Williams, Torrance Marshall kind of like, look, don't screw with us, kind of. I mean, could he have picked that off? Maybe, but it was a statement kind of hit, the kind of physicality you remember from those 01, 02, 03, 2000 defenses where, Roy would just take someone out and basically be like, yep, this is what you're getting all day.
Yep.
I'm the anvil and you are a piece of metal which is going to break on me. And that was
meat hammer.
yeah, it was I mean, it was like, and it was kind of one of those moments. I think if it continues along this lines, one of these things that OU is going to have in their back pocket is going to be that if they continue playing like this, I don't know that I'm not a draft expert or anything like that, but I think Marvin Jones Jr. and Kendall Daniels are going to basically be like, I went to OU, it saved my career, and it got me drafted. And they're gonna make that's gonna be something Nagy is gonna use with portal guys. Look at those two guys. They did nothing at their old places. We took them in, coached them up, got them playing at a high motor, and now they're in the league earning a paycheck. So if you're a 5-star who's like things just aren't working for me, OU's a place you can go where our coaches will get you up.
Chris Mason, what's up with this whole boot on Kendall Daniels?
I haven't heard anything about that. I mean, Gentry obviously was working off as I think it was actually a growing problem, and Fasusi's fine, but Daniels, I haven't heard anything on a boot. It could just be I think it's probably just a precautionary thing that he's just doing, but I've not heard anything definitive on that.
Well, speaking of that, I could have swore, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I was just so hyped and I wasn't really looking at. I was just focused kind of where he was lined up, but I saw Sammy O out there last night. Sammy O made some plays. I think he had a better game from a technical standpoint. I know a lot of people were kind of they weren't necessarily down on him, but they said the footwork and a couple of things were sloppy during the Illinois State game. I saw Sammy O made some plays last night.
I mean, Heineke and Sammy O made plays. Kobe had a great game in terms of leading that defense and keeping us going. Again, that defense played a lot of people. We played 5. I mean, Marcus Strong was in there, and when he was in there was no real drop off. He was in there disrupting and being a physical force at defensive tackle.
I thought that Kip and Kobe, I thought they played really good games just directing. The defensive line was dominant last night in a way that they didn't necessarily have to affect the game. It was just a lot of gang tackling that was going on out there. And then the other thing was that, coming into the season, I've had a bunch of my OU friends at work and all, hit me up and say, man, I'm worried about our linebacker depth, man. But hey, I'll say this right here. I'll say it last night. I'll say it again. Owen Heineke ain't no Brian B. This is not just a tip of the cap.
Well, to go further in the Wayback Machine, he's no Brandon Crow.
Yeah, he is that guy right there. It not only does it show the confidence, it's not a feel good story. Kanik and Owen Heineke are not feel good stories. These are guys that deserve to play at this level, and I think he showed that last night with some of the action that you saw from him. But it's just a simple fact of, let's be real. I mean, Kendall Daniels he's technically a linebacker for us, right? But that linebacker core is really strong and it's really athletic. And I think that's what obviously, would you have loved to have Danny Stutzman out there last night? Hell yes. But at the same time, collectively, this is what Venables,
better defense overall, right?
Yeah, this is what he envisioned for that linebacker room, is just to be really athletic with a bunch of football guys, right? And I think guys who love the game like that. And it's one of those things where I always thought, okay, at some point, even before we got BV, I was like, at some point, obviously we had, Nick Benito, that was great, but I was thinking maybe we can get back to those days we had, the Lance Mitchells and that crew that he played with. I mean, those guys were so solid for BV back in the day. And I was like, maybe we can get back to that where we have 2 to 3, 4 linebackers we can, rotate in. And I think we're there, man. I really do think we're there. Barring injury, yes.
Going back to we talked about Jaron Kanik, and obviously I think he almost caught that touchdown and he put the game away. I mean, that was a tough catch. He made that first catch he made was maybe the biggest play of the game, right? That first big play down the middle that he caught one-handed. But then just small things that you pick up sometimes watching some highlight reels and stuff. The last Mateer touchdown, Kanik blows up the Michigan guy to clear a lane for Mateer to get the touchdown. If you watch that play, Kanik, he's a little undersized, but he blew up a Michigan defender to open up that running lane.
It's effort. That's all. That's all it comes down to is effort. The whole thing is that I think last year where we thought Barrett Sharp, Jason would be the first to tell you, where Barrett Sharp seemed to kind of, for the lack of a better word, he wasn't physical enough. I'm not going to say coward away, but at the same time,
Not the same kind of dude, man.
yeah,
Not the same kind of dude.
Canic, all you're asking is just for effort. I think last year, yeah, we don't want our tight ends on Dylan Edwards, Dylan Stewart, wherever his last name is up there in South Carolina. But one good hit to knock them off, of course, that's a split second that gives Mateer time to work, right? That's all that you're asking. You're just asking for effort plays. And the whole thing is this is a game of leverage, guys. Get underneath that guy. Knock the hell out of that guy. That's all you need. It's just a split second because we have the backs, we have the quarterback to make those plays, and that's all you're asking for. And I think the thing is that as long as you're battling your ass off there, that's all that matters. And I think that you saw that last night collectively from the offensive line. It's what Eicher's been screaming for the last few years. If you don't know your assignment, at the very least, find somebody, knock the hell out of them. Let's keep it going. And I think that you saw that last night, and that's what I was really happy about with the offensive line. And
Yeah, that offensive line stuff. And I think we got to kind of focus on that too. And that's what BV was just talking about. They gave him a game ball to Coach Beanbo and stuff like that. For them to have the turnaround that they had, be able to go down there and that was literally. I mean, what did you say? It was the second longest drive or third longest drive to end in points in 20 years or something like that.
Since 2016, it's the second
Oh,
longest
okay.
drive since 2016. That's 9 years of football, though. I mean, and you have to go back to 2008 for a drive in between it. So, we're talking, you're talking 17 years of football.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. But I mean, and that's when you start talking about being able to make, and that's why I was saying, I mean, we can't say anything bad about Javante Barnes. I mean, he's the one that he helped keep that drive going, and was able to find the holes that they were opening for him, and run through some trash, and make a couple of catches there, and it's to me, it was huge, man. The whole thing was huge. So I think that was big boy football at the end of the game, right? This is big boy football that you're gonna go in there and you got to physical it out and just keep that clock running. I thought it was great, man. I just thought it was great. And to me, again, I said this last night and I'll say it again. I think if Oklahoma gets to where they're trying to go, which is a playoff run, and we'll see what happens from there, they're going to look back on this game. Not, I would look at it probably if you're the offense and maybe even your special team stuff. You look at it as this is probably a C game. That was probably their C game. You know what I mean? John Mateer and this offensive line, now they can believe. And so now that if you get to where you want to be, I feel like you're going to look back on this game as a real turning point in this program's maturation under Brent Venables, right?
I think you found your 5 offensive linemen, presuming that they can stay healthy. And that's a huge win. Game 2, we now know who our best 5 offensive linemen who should be out there are. That's huge. And not only do you have a line that I think can get better this year, you kind of got a hint of the line for the future too, which I think is big, right? That, when you're looking at the offensive line, it was Fasusi, Ozetta, Makula, all 3 who could return next year. Then you got Waywu and Simmons, who are both seniors, but we know next year or sometime this year, Foji's going to be ready at guard, and we know Howland is already right now can play right tackle and play right tackle well. So right there, you've got 7 pieces. You've got, I know it's tough for Everett to lose his job to Makula. I mean, but that it happened, and I give Bill credit for moving with those 5 guys, going with Fasusi, because now Fasusi gets, a game against Temple. He gets to play against Auburn and the Falk kid, the first-round draft pick that Auburn has at defensive end. So he gets that fire. Then he gets Kent State, and he gets another week of practice. I think Fasusi's going to be ready for Red River. I mean, I think he'll be ready for Simmons and those guys because he'll be battle tested at that point. So, but I just said, just
Too much
that.
out of Colin Simmons so far, anyways. I mean, he got dominated in the Ohio State game.
Well, exactly. But I'm just recognizing the fact that he is a defense. I mean, those guys will be talking shit to each other, right? I mean, Fasusi and Simmons will be like, all right, let's throw down. We're both 5 stars. You're from Duncanville. I'm from Louisville. Let's throw down a little bit. So I think but I just think you've got your 5 offensive linemen. Everyone's been like, well, what's going on with the O line? What's going on with the O line? Well, these are the guys Bill wanted to start. It's just they've been hurt. They've been hurt during camp, and then Fasusi had the heat exhaustion thing, which took him a little bit to recover from. And OU Medical kept him out. Ozetta is back. So I think it's a good offensive line. It's a talented offensive line, potentially ceiling wise. And if it stays healthy and they can continue playing game after game and building that cohesion and communication, and the curve's up. The performance line's going up on the offense if we can keep all that going. And we're about to get Giovanni Gibson back. I think he'll play. I think by Auburn he'll definitely play, and by Red River he should be.
Well, he was suited up last night, so he probably could have played, but it looks like they'll probably start ramping him up a little bit,
Yeah, I'd
maybe
play
a
him in
little bit next
Temple.
week, and
Yeah,
see kind of what happens, right?
yeah, and I think we're close to Bowen being back, which will help again in the secondary as well. But yeah, it's that again, as you said. There's ceiling for this team. This wasn't a game where you came out and knew you had 4 turnovers. Michigan threw a couple of cheap pick sixes, and this is why we got 24 points. And you kind of look back like, yeah, I don't know, that's not really sustainable. That's not a sustainable way to win football games. The template we saw last night can beat everybody on our schedule.
Given a chance. Offensive line kind of goes back, a good portion of what Chris Mason and I talked about when we first started, like really potting together, especially off screen, is that hey, it's not just going out there and getting the G5 All Stars and getting these guys or whatnot in the portal, but you got to develop these high school kids as well. And I think that's something that we definitely
Most important, bro. Most important. You're right.
got to remember with Beatonbow, man. He's proven, right? Howland, Ozida, guys that we still thought were, weeks and weeks away. I mean, years away or whatever the case may be. They came out and they played better last year. And I think this year you're seeing that it's not necessarily a drop off. And I think the best is yet to come. And again, like we said last night, that's what's so scary about this team is that a win like this shows you, especially at their C game, right, where there's still a lot of correctable mistakes. The thing is that if they are refined by midway through the year, this is going to be a scary team to look at. Just got to establish the run, keep working at it, and that's all that's going to happen. But I think over time, that's what I'm really excited about with Arbuckle. 2 games in, it looks like he understands, right?
Yeah, he does. And we were talking about it last night in the stands too, Kchris, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. Even when they weren't running it that great, they just get a couple yards here and there, they stuck to it, which you have to stick to it and be consistent running the ball if you're going to, be able to free up your quarterback play action, stuff like that. You know what I mean? To keep the defense honest too.
Yeah. No, what I told you, my kid is going crazy.
He's pissed. Let him come on. Let him come on, man. Come on.
No. No. Hey, what I told you guys when I watched the film on him, on Arbuckle's offense from Washington State, every game that I saw was a combination of just everything that he wanted to do. He stayed consistent. We never went to a drive. There was never a drive kind of like when we had Lincoln where it was too much pass or it was just too much run. It was run instead of mixing it up. Get what I'm saying? It's consistent. He knows what he wants to do. He knows, hey, I just need to make this. I know what play I want to run, but I need 3-4 more yards to be able to run that, right? So it's one of those things where he's so meticulous with his approach and he understands what he needs to do. And I've been saying that all off season was that, hey, when you watch this offense, it's not that he just builds on that. It's one of those things where you're going to get a mix of different things every drive. You're not just going to get run, 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 unless that's working because he wants to run the ball. But if that's not, you're going to get a mix of it. It's not going to be too pass heavy. It's not going to be too run heavy. It's going to be extremely balanced. And that's what I really like about Arbuckle. So kind of going into this next week, I want to see us be able to establish the run. This is going to be a really good game just for us to just keep improving. I mean, we want to see it. But, even with that, and I know people are going to say it was all material, we still had over 100-something yards rushing last night. So, I
Who
mean,
gives a shit where it came from? Who gives a shit where it
who
came
gives? Yeah, Chris Mason said that last night. Who gives a shit? I mean, the whole thing is when I looked at the stats, I was like, oh, we had over 100-something yards on the ground. So obviously, want to see Mateer get some more touchdowns through the air. But I thought that last night, and one more guy I saw in the comments as well that we gotta get a hats off to that we didn't even talk about. Deion Burks balled out in that first half for sure. I mean, he was active. Those wide receivers that we have are legit. The money was well spent. And you saw a bunch of guys out there. Jermichael Carter was out there. And I think Keontez Lewis, he popped open a couple of times. And those are correctable mistakes on Mateer's part. Got to put some air under that. You put some air under that, those are either touchdowns or long yardage gainers right there. So no, I thought that Deion Burks played absolutely well. I remember going to the
He
bathroom
was
at half.
fantastic.
Yeah, and he already had like 6 receptions for 92 yards. I was like, that's a statement. I was like, he made good on his word.
Well, and he also, that's what I was saying, that there was a bunch of Michigan fans in the section that I was in, a bunch. And the first time that he got the ball, they were like, oh, he don't do nothing against good teams. Aha, they're laughing about him and stuff like that. They weren't saying shit about 10 minutes later. You know what I mean?
So I must have missed the memo where QB run yards don't count. Has football changed? I forgot. It seems like sometimes people act like, I remember watching Jamel in the 80s. QB run game sure as hell counted in the 80s. So does it not count any longer? I'm just kind of confused by some people's comments.
Hey, the last time that we won remember the Red River game? They were talking about whoever wins the rushing battle, whoever gets to 100, you better have 100 yards or a 100-yard rusher. And guess what? We didn't get it from Tawi, but he ran pretty good. But you didn't get it from Barnes. You didn't get it from Sawchuk. You got it from Dylan Gabriel. And who won the damn football game? Wherever you get the yards from for that game is what you needed. Who gives a shit?
It baffles me. It's like, okay, oh no, Mateer ran too much. Okay, well, he ran too much against Michigan, right? Who may be the best interior run defense we face all season.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think
that's
situational,
their entire.
Right? It's a situational thing.
And I think the other thing Arbuckle showed is there was a great interview with him preseason where he was sort of like, adapt or die. You're always evolving. You're always doing different things. And as Kchris said, we did different stuff last night that we hadn't showed before, and he's going to dial up different stuff for Auburn. He's going to dial up different stuff for Texas because he just gets it, and and more so, I think, than definitely Jeff Lebby. And not to knock on Lebby, props to him for winning a big game last night. Arbuckle understands game control and game management and time management. I mean, we saw that. He understands. Dial it back. We don't have to.
Didn't never see that as much from Lincoln. And
yeah, you don't have to die. You don't. When Bob was there, we saw a little bit of it. But when Lincoln left to his own devices, 217 onwards would sometimes be like, "What are you doing, man? We don't need the speed right now. We need to, get in and complementary offense that you can't design a better complementary drive than our final fourth quarter drive. again,
And I think that this is the point that I like this point the most. Dilligaff says that the good thing about him running as much as teams will have to defend that and will open up the offense more in the rest of the season. And that's correct. This is a situational deal. You may not have him. I'm not saying that you want him running as much as he ran last night, week after week after week. But however you need to manufacture the running yards, you need to manufacture them either way. And I'm not saying it's going to happen from week to week, but if they know that they have to defend it and they will, then that's going to open it up for these other guys as well. I think it's the same thing we've been saying about Kanik, and what a freaking amazing performance from him last night as well. You know, he did have the drop, but shit, man, he getting
that was a
open,
tough catch. That was a tough catch.
tough catch. But I mean, you know, you also had some big time catches that he made,
Yeah, definitely.
and so I mean, love the what we're seeing out of him. I mean, we felt like coming into this, whatever production you got out of him was probably going to be gravy, but it's not gravy. This is you're having to defend these guys now. So this is putting more stress on no matter who it is. It's going to put more stress on these defenses, whoever's running, whoever's catching balls. And you haven't gotten Giovanni back yet. You're going to get him back soon. You know, I feel like you know in the red zone area, I would have liked to have seen them getting Ivan Carry on in a little more too. There's a couple of guys I'd love to see, but I think overall you got to take what you can get, you know, and just the fact that they're willing to go out there and put it on the line and win a game like this. And this was an important win. If they lose this game last night, everybody in here is losing their mind, losing their mind. The season's over, you know, whatever. Listen, they found a way, and I don't give a shit who got what. I think it's situational. I understand what people are saying, but I think you have to look at it on a game to game basis. And I love it that you have so many different guys that can step up.
And it's all about matchups, right? We may play teams next, coming up that just don't have that level of interior run stopping defense. I mean, this is Michigan's bread and butter. I mean, and this is and OU did what they needed to do, which was okay. We need to use Barnes as a blocker for Mateer and free some things up and do some different things and keep them on their toes and keep hitting them with the running game jab and just not drop back 60 times, because we could have done that, just drop back 60 times instead. And, probably don't win the football game, but have more passing yards. So it is what it is. I do think Unc is right that, I think Kevin Wilson's helping. I think the two things we're learning early are that Brent should stick to play calling the defense. He should be DC. Yeah. He probably should stick to that long term, as long as he has a Matt Wells, Kevin Wilson type to keep him connected to the offense and to help him with the game management stuff. I mean, I think that's what we're seeing is that he can do this defense focus thing where he's game day. That's where he's best at. He just needs a veteran guy he trusts as his connection back to the offense and back to game management.
Yeah. We got a super chat here. God, I wish Kanik would have made that TD catch. Did you see his post-game interview with the Wolverine claws? Dude is a troll. He is a troll. It was awesome stuff, man. But I loved it, man. And
when you win, you can be colorful, right? When you lose, you can't.
That shit
is annoying, right? It's like,
well, I think about Beamer, man. He's always being stupid whenever after they lose games. Nobody wants to hear it.
And is there to maybe hit another topic outside the OU arena just for a second? How happy are you, Kendall Daniels, being a star in a primetime football game? Then you're not on a plane flying back from Oregon, where you should have left your coach on the freaking tarmac.
Hey man, the crowd went crazy when they played that inside of the stadium before the game. I was clapping. A lot of other people.
9-3. They haven't lost that lopsided since Oklahoma became a fucking state.
And OU was the team that did it to them.
Yeah.
And it was OU that beat them that badly last time.
So bad.
I mean,
Lanning was going for 2 every time. It was almost it was laughable, but it was almost to the point where it's like,
He started kicking. He started kicking 1-pointers.
Some OU fans sitting behind me. They were like, man, it's just. He said, man, Gundy shouldn't. I said, yeah. I said, what it is. I said, it's Gundy was that kid on that third pew in the church that was acting up, and somebody said, hey, come over here, come here. Let's step outside real quick. I got something
It
for
slapped him too. But you know what he was doing all week was just trying to. He knew that they were going to get drugged. Now I don't know if he knew they were going to get drugged like that.
you. Nah,
But listen, the the damn spread was 28 and a half, something
38,
like that. And
30, 38.
I heard Okie like Cody, that's ridiculous. That's just blasphemous, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, it isn't. And
oh,
how do you not believe that they're going to win by that much when your coach is signaling to you guys that they're going to get their ass kicked? He wasn't talking about the difference in revenue when they played Middle Tennessee the week before,
Jason.
but he wanted to talk about it this week.
Jason, let's be completely honest, bro. Let's be completely honest.
Trash.
What happened was you poked the wrong bear. Out of everybody, even I think BV would have been suffocating and all the rest of the stuff, but I think he would have eased off of it. I think there's a bunch of coaches
And then
around.
he'll step on your neck. He loves that shit.
You
Yeah.
don't play.
See you like
Don't give Lanning any bulletin board material. That's what he loves. Lanning was
Yeah.
going for 2 damn near every single time. Every single time, to the point where it was laughable, but you wanted to kind of pull him to the side and say, hey man, look, I get it. It's over. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you knock somebody out and they on the ground and you trying to hit them again. Hey man,
still
no.
kicking him in the head and
I
shit.
mean, this is it's almost when football needs a mercy rule.
Yeah.
I mean,
To end this, I'll say this right here. It's what I would love to do to like an O State, Texas. I would tell Jason, put his arm back in the door. I'm not finished. Jason would say, no, it's already cracked, Chris. I heard it cracked in 3 places. Put it back in the door. I'm not done.
Okie light.
So-
Okie light, ultra light, man. There's how they didn't leave that dude there in Oregon to clean up stalls at freaking Nike is beyond me. I don't know, man. This is wild to me.
but did you guys? The result that threw me off was Army beat K-State.
Wow.
6 possessions.
Florida got beat by
Now I watched that Florida game. I saw that happening. I mean, Lagway was erratic. They were making mistakes left and right. I mean, they were doing everything to keep USF in that game. And USF has good athletes, so they're physical. That doesn't surprise me. But I mean, Army lost to Tarleton State week 1.
Hold on. Let me say this right here. And I still believe it. And we're 2 games in the season. We always start off fast. We could start off 5-6-0 and then not win another game, but that's how our seasons have went. But I will say this right here. Cristobal and Billy Napier should send money, flowers, well, not flowers, but they should send money. They should send what they should donate to our NIL fund, simply because all of their missteps, all of their screw ups have always been overshadowed by anything that Brent Venables does. And Brent Venables has not been extended the same amount of grace that they were, right? So I'm just saying that it's one of those things that I always go back to. And I like Billy Napier. Cristobal is a head scratcher to me sometimes. He's got a really good ball team, but you just at some point, does he screw it up, right? So it's just one of those things where you just say anything that Brent Venables does has always just been basically blasted out there. But when you see Napier and Cristobal, Napier had all the momentum and everything, but to go and lose to USF in the swamp, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. Not saying that USF is a slouch, but that just makes no sense to me, man.
And at Florida's schedule coming up is an absolute bear.
It's brutal.
They're
It's
going to go at LSU, at Miami, and then they get Texas at home, and then they got to play Texas A&M on the road.
Mhm.
I mean, they could lose
So
5
even,
games. That's a 5-game losing streak right there.
I
SEC Mike immediately dropped him to number 16 in his power rankings and said they ain't gonna win again.
I think that they could get one of those games, the LSU or Miami. I think they'll come out there and play inspired. I just don't. I see that was my whole thing. Going into the season, me and my uncle, we were firm believers. Hey, they could beat Texas, which they very well they could. That may be their only win out of that whole five or so games that you named. But I think that they'll come back, play inspired ball, and there'll still be a tough out for people. But it's just one of those things where that offense from time to time can get stagnant. It can get pretty stagnant. I think the Dallas Wilson kid is good, but I'm still not convinced on, when's the last time Florida had a marquee receiver outside of Kyle Pitts, who was a tight end, right? So it's just one of those things where that's always been something that has eluded them. It's kind of those elite wide receivers, in my opinion. They've had good guys. Everybody in the SEC has like really good guys, but as far as having those elite wide receivers, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that game. Brennan Thompson apparently won the game for Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Good for him. I mean, our wide receiver Farouk had a big game for Maryland the other night. And Andrew Anthony had a touchdown for Duke. Of course, Duke got kind of road graded by Illinois in the second half, which is weird to say. But it was just another weird day of college football. Clemson looked like trash all day, and Troy gave that game away to allow Clemson to win it, really.
Yep.
That was weird. UGA was stumbling around with Austin P. They had a rain delay, had a lightning delay. That sometimes throw you off, but they didn't look great either. Tennessee is blitzing people, but we know that Baylor offense blitzes bad opponents, right? That's what it does. And and Heupel was throwing the ball with his backups, and so that we know that offense, that Baylor offense, that we know how that works. It drops big points on teams that just can't match up athletically, right? That's just what it does. So it's a weird. Do you think OU will be ranked in the top 10, AP?
I think we're still like maybe 13.
Maybe top 12 or.
I mean, a lot of people lost and didn't play very well. So
yeah. I think they move up at least to 12, and it could be in the 10s.
I mean, it's probably the third best win out there, right?
Yeah, fellas, sneaky good game next week. We definitely got to put this on the predictions and all the rest of that. Clemson at Georgia Tech, sneaky good game.
Clemson at Georgia Tech. That's dangerous for Clemson.
We got some really good games next week, man.
I believe a certain person on this panel has picked Georgia Tech to beat Clemson and get into the college football playoff.
Hey, I'm just saying this right here. There's some really good games next week. I'm glad that we play at 11. I know Temple's feeling pretty high right now on themselves because they beat UMass 42-10, and they beat Howard yesterday. I think it was like 56-7 or so like that. So that is good for them. We will be ready. I think we'll be prepared, and we will go from there.
Yeah, it was again the fact that post game you got Pate, McAfee, Klatt, all of these guys pumping, talking up OU. It was a great environment for the recruits. There's lots of recruit comments. Jalen Brewster was there. Cooper Hackett was there. The cornerback, the number one cornerback in the country from South Carolina, he's posting on Twitter. Your boy Michael, is it Stevens from Ole Miss? He was at the game with DeMarco.
Loved it.
Cutting it up, having a good day. He's a real running back.
He is a real running back. Have you seen what he's been doing in the early part of the season?
I haven't looked at it. I haven't seen his week 0.
Long TV runs, man.
But he's a good runner. He's a good running back. I mean, he's got the offers and everything to prove it. But you just had Then an OU offered Julian Caldwell. I mentioned on the podcast last night, but if you missed it, OU offered Julian Caldwell, the wide receiver from Dallas, 6'3", 185 pounds, who had like 10 catches for 256 the other day. And he's a stud, and he loved his visit. And again, I think we need to. I threw this out with some of my OU friends with that. For the most part, you can trash Emmett and Bill and DeMarco from last year for the most part, but really the offense was just such a mess that I was kind of giving them a mulligan. But guys, our wide receiver group, it looks like Emmett Jones has somehow rediscovered how to coach again.
Oh, all of a sudden he couldn't coach. I know that was one of the funnier narratives.
I'm like, okay, guys, whatever. Looks like he can coach again. He can certainly, recruit. And
What's up, J Jack?
You knock DeMarco again. He can recruit. We'll see how the season goes and what needs to shake out after that. But again, Bill had a good day. The offensive line he wanted to play, he played, and he stuck with it. That was a freshman. He benched a redshirt senior and replaced him with Makula, who was a summer arrival, and he played. He went with Ozetta, and you saw both a line that can work for this year, and I think you see the framework of a line for 2026 that could be really good. Second year for Susi, third year Ozetta, second year Makula, second year Foji, and then third year, fourth year redshirt junior Logan Howland at right tackle. I mean, that could really play. That could give, you get to. I remember recruiting guys. So I'm always projecting the future and doing stuff like that. And right now, I don't think we're getting a second year of Mateer, but you see that offense we ran last night, and I can see Mikey Hawkins running that offense, given another year working with Arbuckle, and sure seems like Mike Hawkins Jr. and Mike Hawkins Sr. love what Arbuckle's doing from their social media stuff. I haven't talked to them. I'm not going to say that that's true, but everything on social media seems to indicate that. And and I think we're going to right now. I think we're going to be able to keep Mike Hawkins' red shirt, depending upon how things go. But you can see the template for how this can move forward. But right now, if I was Jim Nagy, I'd be pulling Arbuckle's agent aside and figuring out some way to make sure he knows after the season that he doesn't need to be taking just any old job. That this continues. A pay increase is we're going to pay to keep you at OC.
Hey, Nagy, hey, we gotta pull off a Kawhi Leonard type of deal. You know what I'm saying? We can do it. We can do it. I got a foundation for you to put the money in. I may pocket a little bit, but still, we can.
But Kchris, Steve Ballmer says he doesn't know anything about that. He doesn't know anything about it.
That's rich people problems, man.
I guess if you've got $4 billion, you don't know that you're paying some guy $28 million to do nothing. But
That's
all right.
But no, man, no, I'm really excited about this team, man. Last night was y'all just hear me out on this, okay? Last night was that was the first time that I could truly say OU had, and maybe the Tennessee game, maybe somebody say differently. Last night was the first time I could truly say OU felt like they really were in the SEC. They really did. From a crowd standpoint, is what I'm trying to say. It felt like they were in the SEC. The student section was loud. The little palms, this and that, all the stuff that they were doing. It felt like an SEC environment. And I know a lot of the Michigan fans that came down, they told us, they were like, hey, campus is beautiful. They were like, it's been great here. Fans are great. And they were like, hey, we're gonna have to pay you guys back next year. Not talking about, winning or losing, but talking about the overall experience. They were like, hey, it was like this. I've been to a lot of games, a lot of different places. It's like this is hype. There's like the video presentations, this and that. They were like, man, y'all got me hype on this. Like it was everything came together last night.
They
Presentation,
were showing love. They
yeah,
were showing love for the most part. There was
yeah.
a few that weren't, but for the most
Fan,
part, they were showing love.
fans showed up in a tremendous way, man. You know, everybody been saying it took all of us, and it really did. I mean, it was loud in there. It was
It
loud.
was loud. It was, man. It was louder than it got, and I thought it was loud last year during the Tennessee game.
Yeah,
And they stayed full throat in the Tennessee game. But I'm telling you, it was rowdy in there last night.
Hey
yeah.
guys, I haven't been on campus. I keep hearing great things about the Norfolk Oval tailgating. Will you guys have a chance to walk by there? Is that just hyped up, or do you guys think it's making a difference?
I think it's great. I think we had a good time there yesterday. But yeah,
You think it's
there was a
working?
lot of folks out there pretty early on, man. Pretty
You think
early
it's
on.
doing what it's accomplishing what they wanted to do?
Mhm.
That's good because that was always you go to Bama, you go to Florida, you go to these different places, and obviously Ole Miss has its tailgating scene. It's nice that apparently OU's found something that's sticking with the North Oval.
I do want to give hats off to. I think Michigan. Obviously, you want them to pull the reins back a little bit off of Bryce. I think Bryce can work. I think Bryce is going to be good. That's a good football team, yo. I mean that is defensively. They still
Oh, he
try
was
to
good.
contain.
He was good too. He was
They
good.
were they were. It wasn't necessarily that Michigan played a fundamentally sound game. Only problem is we just made plays, and that's what's going to take sometimes. Sometimes you just have to make those plays. Those were two good football teams last night, and I do see Michigan. Um, Michigan's going to be a problem for a lot of people, especially a lot of stuff. And that's something. I'm glad I said that. Defensively, one of the things I think that's gonna go. Uh, uh, Basically unnoticed was the fact that with all of the different shifts and the movement and stuff, even though it was simple from them, it wasn't anything simply, extremely complicated or complex. But with all the movement, all the RPO, and the kind of the side to side action, and some of those speed guys, I mean, they were when they snapped that ball, guys were moving. That was one of the first times in a while that I've seen a BV defense be prepared for that, right?
Yeah,
Meaning that it was eye discipline, meaning that on the RPO, we were there with the right guys. And I saw guys, um, we had a guy that was ready for the running back, whoever was, doing that. But anytime that it looked like Bryce Underwood was about to do a bootleg and about to pass or whatnot, we were there. And some of those passes that he missed on, those were a cause of the fact that, hell, he's having to run towards the sideline. He's throwing fadeaway passes. My uncle leaned next to me. He said, "Hey, man," he said, I kind of feel like he's rattled. He's starting to throw off his back foot. He's starting to try to make plays. He's starting to be antsy instead of just anticipating things to happen naturally. So shout out to the defense, man, because they were assignment sound for the most part. Obviously outside of the 75-yard run.
Hey, so Unc is asking me if uh,
KJ
KJ
Ford,
Ford showed up from Duncanville. I don't think he did.
right?
Josh is the one that from Scoop that had that info, and he was uncertain. He was
Right.
uncertain about that. I will say, I'm trying to catch up with some of the pods. So, Jason, I know you know the Crane and Company guys.
Yes,
And they had a nice recap, and David Cohn is the Michigan guy on that group.
he is.
He's a good guy, but his point was like he's like it's hard to be angry when you lose to a very good football team. He says I don't know that Oklahoma's elite. He goes, but they made plays and they're a very good team. And he goes and losing to that, he goes, it's frustrating, but you can accept losing to a good team that made plays. He goes, Mateer made plays. He goes, that guy makes plays. He goes, and their defense, they make plays. He goes, that's a good. He says, I don't know that they're elite. I don't know they're a playoff team. He goes, but they are a very, very good football team.
Yeah.
And, and I wish we had taken advantage more of some of the opportunities he gave us. He goes, but that goes back to their defense just playing well as well. Playing great. Playing great. He goes, it was tough to watch, but but when you lose to a good team, that's
Similar to
making
what Mays Madman said last night too. Kind of
you
the
know,
same stuff.
when you lose to a good team where they're making plays, tip your hat, move on, and get better.
Yeah.
Don't whine about it, and just move on. And I felt like, the Crane guys. I think that's one of the better podcasts out there. They don't
Oh
need
man,
me.
they're killer, man. They
They
do a
don't. They
great
don't
job.
need me to. They don't need me, but they do a good. They do a good job. I think out there. If you don't follow them on YouTube, I'd recommend you give them a try.
Most definitely.
Watch
Most
their
definitely.
Michigan game reaction. It's short and the other interesting thing was David Pollock is now doing his own single standalone podcast.
Love it too.
He has a guy with him, and Pollock's just like he was loving John Mateer and Brent Venables last night in their quick in their recap. And he's just like that OU defense. He says that's a Pollock's he played on those great Georgia defenses in the when he was there, and he's like that's a defense I'd like to play on. That those guys fly around with bad intent and just throwing themselves and just bashing people. He goes, Oklahoma, again, he said the same thing. I don't know that Oklahoma's elite, but they are very, very good, and they have a stud dude at quarterback.
Well, if they're not elite, they're showing that they're getting close, though, and that's the main thing. Is you don't expect a finished product at this point, but what you're expecting is for them to continue to improve on the things that we feel like they're maybe a little deficient at. You don't want to see continued. I think the special teams, it stumbled a little bit last night. That doesn't mean it can't still be very good on special teams. I think you got a good kicker. I think you've got good returners. I just think that, it was a bad night. But overall, and shout out to MT13. And honestly, I there was a bunch of guys in that section that were talking about how awesome they thought it was in Norman. That people had been asking them all day how they were enjoying being there. That they just thought it was a great community and stuff. So shout out to the fans in and around the game area. You know what I mean? They've been giving Michigan people love. And welcoming. Even though they kicked their ass, so it's good. You know what I mean? And people are saying good things about it. But on top of that, you showed up and showed out and got loud. And that was important. And Coach Venables talked about it. It was very important for the program. So I love it. Mr. Dilligaff, another super chat. Not will be referred to as Jaden Knott until proven otherwise. So says the football gods. Listen, I think Kchris is probably right that at some point he's an All-American in the past. I feel like he should kind of work his way into playing pretty well at some point. But I think right now the best back, it's like Mr. Mason said last night, and I didn't think it was controversial at all. I think the best back in the room is Torrey Blaylock, freshman or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think every time this is the first time OU's played Michigan in 50 years, right? This is a massive environment, and if you're an OU fan, head to Ann Arbor if you can, because we're not going to get a chance to play this game. We're not going to have these guys regularly on the schedule. Go to Ann Arbor. It'll be early in the season, so it won't be freezing cold in Michigan. Find a way to get a ticket for that game, because that's going to be, it's like going to Notre Dame. If you had a chance to go to Notre Dame a couple of years ago when Blake Bell beat them, and the Belldozer beat them, and it's a great environment, great people at the games. So I think the chance to go to Michigan is huge. I mean, I think if you obviously
I'm going.
If you can get in, great.
It's a pilgrimage to the big house, man. You got to go.
Yeah, I mean, this is too. I think part of it is when Michigan fans are in Norman, they're not like a fan base they know real, right? They've won national championships.
Absolutely.
They're not. They are not. It's not false bravado. They know they're a good program. They know that they're a real program, and they have. And Big Ten schools have massive fan bases, so it's not surprising they showed up in large numbers. Because again, this was, this is 1976. This is the OU with the three Selman brothers shutting down, Michigan. It
was legit.
That's hallowed Hall of Fame kind of shit, man. That's the last time we played. So, it's like I'm just
excited that they're playing these games, man. And this is what I've been saying a lot, Mr. Mason, is that I'm really glad that the SEC went to this 9-game schedule, because and that they did this strength of schedule thing. They added even another metric to it. And the reason why I'm glad about it is because now nobody has an excuse to not play good football teams and to continue rivalries that matter. USC, shut the fuck up and play Notre Dame. You know what I mean? Nebraska, shut up and play Oklahoma when you can. You know what I mean? You need these things. Oklahoma State, whatever. Yeah, I think that may be a huge reason why they're falling apart is because that competitive, the ability to be competitive, you've got to be good enough to be able to play Big Brother. I think it took something out of them. I really do. I've said it was going to happen, and I think it.
Oh,
Did.
the wheels have completely fallen off.
Completely fallen off. It's. I mean,
they seem completely disinterested in playing football. But yeah, again, it was a big night. OU stepped up. Every podcast is featuring us. Everybody's talking about us. And Brent, this was Brent's coming out party. It seems late. It seems kind of 3 years in. We shouldn't be having that kind of comment, but hey, it is what it is. And I think, you can build off this, but you got to take care of everything next week, and then build up for that. T Boomer, how many recruits do you think we get off this game? I think we get Peyton Houston. I think that's leaning that direction. So I think if he was on the fence, hard to think he didn't find last night pretty damn impressive in terms of. That offense, Arbuckle telling him, I'm going to make you the center of the offense. You're going to be the point guard. You're going to be the guy. So if I'm Houston, I like that.
Same with that receiver that he's been recruiting anyway. I think that.
Yeah, we'll see. There's so many guys. It's hard for me to say. There are guys like not big names people don't know, but Gus Corsair, big center from Kansas, was there last night. That's like his 5th visit to OU. Montre Jackson, a lot of 2027 kids. I think there's a half dozen 2027 kids we get who attended last night, who OU's been building a relationship with, and then they're there in that environment, and it just puts OU back in the forefront, keeps OU in the forefront of their recruiting, and they'll be back for other games. That's the other thing is we have a great lineup of home games. That was always the thing that the Big 12 was killing us with, right? You'd have these, shitty home games against Cincinnati, Iowa State, and I don't know.
Cincinnati was a cool trip, but
yeah. But we just wouldn't have our home schedule was just crap, right? Unless OSU was good and they were in Norman, the home schedule was crap. But you've got this game: Auburn, Ole Miss, Missouri, and LSU. If we're cruising and we're winning games, this isn't a one-time deal. We'll have big-time recruits in for those other games, and we'll get these guys back for second. The local regional guys will be back for more games, and OU. We won't have shitty 12:00 kickoffs all the time. Although I don't know what the Auburn kickoff is. I don't think they've announced it yet, right?
Yeah, it's been nice to not have so many of the noon games anymore.
Yeah, the only noon game that seems to be on the schedule is South Carolina, and I bet that if we're undefeated after Red River in South Carolina,
it's not a flex game though. I think that one's stuck.
That one's stuck, and then next week
Auburn is a flex game.
Temple is 11 a.m. too next week.
Yeah, who cares about that? But
I don't really care about that.
Get your cheesesteak afterwards, or get your cheesesteak. By the way, if you're going to the Temple game, you're going to Philadelphia, get a cheesesteak, but also go to the market. I think it's called. There's a big market there, and it's DeNick's. They have They have a pork sandwich that's supposed to be the best sandwich in the country. So, according to my brother who had one, he said it was awesome. So, that's what you should do. And if you want a cheesesteak, avoid Pat and Gino's and do some research. There's some fantastic places to go to instead.
Anything else, guys? We've been going for almost an hour and a half. After going for an hour last night, too, you guys. Let's close out with what are your final thoughts?
Hey, my final thoughts is great win, amazing win. Things to correct, things to fix. Next week is a good tool for us. No matter the opponent, Temple, whatever the case may be, they're feeling better about themselves. We feel pretty damn good about ourselves. Excited for the boys to go up there to Philly next week and get to play in the Eagle Stadium. I think that'll be really cool for them, being on the road as well, getting away for a little bit. So biggest thing is maturity. Got to show that you guys are mature about this, that you go and handle business early, get it done, get up out of there. Let's get ready for Auburn. That's what's most important. It's just showing that growth right there. Are you the team that we believe that you are? Let's not play around with this team and let it linger on. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Let's run good plays. Let's do everything. Let's stay healthy. The biggest part of it for me. And let's knock this out. That way, everybody in OU land can enjoy the rest of the college football landscape, because there's some really good games on next week.
Great games. Mr. Mason?
I'm the recruiting guy, so I'll just end with a recruiting note. You had an abundance, a cornucopia of high school football talent on campus, and you gave them the best show we've had in 4 or 5 years. So if you don't think that will pay off down the road if OU keeps winning, I've been saying it on multiple shows, OU just needs to win to reverse the sort of the negative recruiting stuff, and they made a big move in that direction last night.
No doubt about it. It was big, and I'll just say that, having been there and stuff, I agree with what my guy Garrett said here. Best home game. He said best home game we've ever been to. Yeah, man. I think it's between that and maybe Texas Tech. That year, the jump around game, and then the game of the century. But honestly, they're right there. It was an important win. And just the fact that you were able to. I think there was so much on the line for the future of the program. Because you got to get a great start for this first half of the season. You really need to go into Red River undefeated. Honestly, I feel like you need to win that one too, to make it, to make sure that you're going to get, a real shot at the playoff. But I think that they're legit playoff contenders if they stay healthy. And because I think they're going to continue to get better, and their confidence is going to continue to soar. What I've seen from John Mateer is very promising to me. He just does whatever it takes to win. And he just seems to, as I said last night, I think that as much as I love Michael Hawkins, and I think he's going to be the guy when it's his time, I think that it's been huge for everybody on this football team, the defensive included, to have the injection of belief in this football team that you're seeing. There wasn't that. You haven't seen that in a long time. You just haven't. So it's great to see, and I think there's plenty of improvements to make. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid just yet on national championship or anything like that. But I think there's no reason why you can't make the playoff. And I'd love to roll the dice with these guys. I really would. So love it, guys. Let us know what you think in the comment section, and keep sharing these streams. Make sure you hit that like button. Horns Down Podcast, Sooners 360, and Hall of Fame College Football. Hey guys, we're bringing you lots of great content. We're enjoying it all the way through, and hey man, help us get to help us reach our goals as well. Make sure you're hitting that like button and sharing the stream with others as well, man. Yeah, man. Anything else, guys? What we got? Appreciate everybody coming in. We'll see you all on the next one.